This couple doubled their retirement income. By the end of this educational video episode, you will understand how two school teachers saved $250,000 in tax on their 401ks and 403bs. Get ready, you're going to be blown away. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been helping people optimize assets and minimize taxes now for nearly 5 decades. And in the process, I've helped thousands of people as a tax strategist alleviate and avoid or redirect otherwise payable income tax. Now, I'm a red-blooded American. I think we should all pay our fair share of tax. And I actually show people how they can help the government, this great country of America, better by getting the taxes over and done with sooner than later and converting their retirement income to tax-free, which actually takes pressure off of the government, worrying about how to provide for retirees that outlive their money and so forth, when oftentimes they're following the herd, putting money into traditional IRAs or 401ks, thinking that's the best way to save. And then these people outlive their money and they're not in a lower tax bracket. And taxes, inflation, and market volatility cause many Americans to be dependent on the government sooner than later. Okay. And so I want to tell you the story of this couple that came to me years ago because it applies still to this day. But this couple, I can still see them as they came into my office as the wife was crocheting, and the husband was very interested in looking at the strategies that I had taught at a seminar. And they came in to see what they could do better because they had saved a total of $250,000, which used to be a lot of money, but this was several years ago. And so in their 401ks and in their 403bs, and I think they had one TSA, a tax sheltered annuity, which is very common for school teachers, and both of them had taught school. And they had a defined benefit pension each. Now, if you're not aware of what that is, a defined benefit pension, those are few and far between these days, but generally, if you work for an entity like a large corporation or government, a school teacher or a police officer or a firefighter, you will have a defined benefit pension, meaning you get a specific benefit based upon the years of service that you taught school, let's say. And so for this couple, their state allowed them to get 2% in retirement for every year of service they taught school. And they had both taught school for 30 years. So 2% times 30 years is a total of 60% of their last best paychecks. And so during the last 5 years they taught school, they averaged their paycheck and they got 60% of that. So let's just keep this simple. Back then, let's say they were earning the last few years an average of $5,000 a month, which is pretty close back then to what they had been earning. And so they realized that 60% of that was $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. And so they realized that they would get $3,000 a month each for their defined benefit pension with a little cost of living increase. And of course, many school teachers go, golly, I'm only going to get 60% because they only give me 2% times 30 years of service. I don't think I could get by on 60% of what I was earning. And so they're trying to be responsible and accountable. And so they socked away money in the state-sponsored 401k and in 403bs. These are qualified plans where you set aside pre-tax dollars. The money accumulates tax deferred. And then you think you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. And you think that's the best way to go. And this is the trap many people get into. Well, this is why I developed a very sophisticated software years ago, and I still use it today, to show these people who are savers why they got themselves into a tax trap and how to free themselves from this trap, but don't continue to stay trapped following the herd. And this is what their advisor was telling them to do. They came to me and they were age 59 and a half. So After age 59 and a half, you can access money out of a qualified plan like a 401k or an IRA or 403bs without having to incur a 10% penalty. Okay. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't need the money out of these IRAs or 401ks. So why should I start taking it out at age 59 and a half if I don't need the money? Because they think if I don't need the money, why should I pull it out? I'm not going to spend it. So they're sort of talked into leaving it there. And it wasn't until they came to my educational seminar and I said, no, you want to do a strategic rollout, not a rollover. A rollover is going from the frying pan to the fire. That's taking these 401ks and 403bs and rolling it over to IRAs and continuing to defer until you have to start taking money out based upon your life expectancy. That is now age 72. Back then, it was age 70 and a half. And so their advisor said, oh, if you don't need the money, continue to defer. Why do you want to trigger tax? And so the scenario was this. They had $250,000 between the two of them. And their advisor was acting like they could earn 7.2%. Now, if you understand rule of 72, you divide 7.2% into 72 and your money will double in 10 years. So the advisor says your $250,000 in these tax-deferred IRAs, 401ks, 403bs will double to $500,000 by the time you're 70 and a half. And then you can take out required minimum distributions and save yourself tax. And I go, well, wait a minute. This advisor is not really saving you tax in the long run. Maybe in the short run, but not in the long run. Let me show you why. And so I showed them that if they waited and doubled it to $500,000 and then took out RMD's required minimum distributions, they could, let's say if they were earning 7.2%, they could pull out $36,000 a year, but they would be in a 33% tax bracket if they were lucky, probably higher, between federal and state tax. So if they pulled out $36,000 a year, they would only net $24,000 to buy gas and groceries, prescriptions, and golf green fees. Okay, and so I said, let me show you something better. I said, we ought to get the money out and the taxes over and done with sooner than later. Do you think taxes in the future will likely be higher? They said, absolutely. I said, then why do you want to continue to postpone, delay the inevitable? I'm showing you that even if taxes didn't go up, you're going to pay $12,000 in tax every year for the rest of your lives, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. They go, well, you're suggesting we take it out now, even though we don't need the money? I'm saying we're going to do a rollout. So I illustrated what I would do if I were in their shoes. I would pull out $60,000 a year, which did not put them into a higher tax bracket, and $60,000 a year because of their tax situation would trigger a tax of $12,500. I think was that about 20%. And they were like, oh, wait a minute. We don't have to pay. We don't want to pay $12,500 a year in tax for the next 5 years. That's $60,000 in tax that we wouldn't have to pay if we kept deferring. And I'm going, you're not saving tax by putting this off. You're going to pay it sooner or later. It's like the old Framin Autolite commercial, where an automobile mechanic would hold up an oil filter and say, you can either pay me now and I'll change your oil filter, or you can wait and pay me later and I'll replace your engine. And I said, it's going to be cheaper just to pay now instead of later. And I said, in fact, if you do that, I calculated the amount of tax they would pay by stringing it out over their life expectancy. Because when you take out the required minimum distribution, that goes up every year after age 72. And they were shocked. They would pay out at least $250,000 in tax by stringing it out, by deferring and stringing it out. They said, we're going to pay $250,000 in tax by doing it the way our advisor's suggesting. I said, yeah, you're continuing to defer and delay. And you're stringing it out, you're going to pay $250,000. They said, that's how much we have in there right now. And I go, I know. Let's get it over and done with sooner than later. Based upon the 7.2% rate of return, that $250,000 would be growing to about $300,000 at least over the 5 years. But we would get the money out and taxes over and done with at a tax bill of $60,000 instead of waiting and compounding it to 250,000. Now, I showed them putting in the net after tax into a portfolio of laser funds. What's a laser fund? And a max funded indexed universal life insurance contract that accumulates your money tax free, allows you to access your money tax free. And then when you die, it blossoms and transfers tax free. There's nothing else in the Internal Revenue Code that does that. And I'm going to gift you a book at the end of this episode that explains this. So that's what they did. I felt like Sam I Am in Green Eggs and Ham. You will like this. You will see. Oh no, we don't want to have these taxes. Well, after 5 years, they were saying, thank you, Sam I Am. We like these green eggs and ham, meaning we like this tax-free income. What was the result? We were able to get $300,000 out of their IRAs or 401ks, actually with no tax consequence, not just the $60,000, and I'll explain how. But they had that money that then grew after tax to $500,000, and that $500,000 in their IUL policies generated $50,000 a year of tax-free income. Now, $50,000, in actuality, their money by the time they started accessing it was worth $600,000, and just at an 8% payout, it was generating $50,000 tax-free. How much more is $50,000 than a net of $24,000 out of their IRAs or 401ks had they postponed and deferred? Yeah, it's twice. We doubled their net spendable income, but we saved them $250,000 in tax by getting it out and over and done with. We reduced it down to $60,000 with a no-brainer illustration. And then I put on my tax strategy hat. And I said, you own some rental properties, some rental homes. You've been paying them off with the rental income and killing your tax deductions. Why don't you refinance those at 6% interest, tax deductible, and net cost of 4%, and you're earning 8% over here, which is twice as much as you're paying, and you can resurrect tax deductions on those rental properties. Long story short, we were able to resurrect tax deductions that offset the taxes, and they were able to get the money out of those IRAs or 401ks, and not only save them $250,000 in tax, but we eliminated the $60,000 of tax by offsetting it with new deductions. We got their money out tax-free by using two strategies. Folks, we have done this thousands of times for people. Maybe you're one of these people that we can help. If you want to learn by studying stories like this and understand what a strategic rollout is, and even better yet, what a laser fund is, I want to gift you a copy of this 300-page book. It retails for $20. I will gift you this book. You simply contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling by going to laserfund.com, click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling, put some skin in the game. I will pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you. There's options there to listen and learn, watch and learn. But check out some of the online educational webinars we do, and you can even chat with an IUL specialist to see how this may benefit you, like it did these two school teachers, and how we can save you maybe $250,000 or more in unnecessary tax.